This is Miss Cotran and
Mr. Hampton.
And this is your Chapter 2 review. In this lesson, students will review concepts from Chapter 2 to review for their Chapter 2 test.
All right, children, we'll begin with a word problem. I don't know if you remember these. This goes back a couple sections ago, but this is a sentence, and we're going to turn it into a math sentence. 2 plus the quotient of a number and 8 is the same as 16. All right, number of things you could start with. One, you can start with just identifying numbers. I identify the number 2. That is this. Huh? I identify plus. What does that mean? I'm going to add. I'm going to put a plus sign in. The quotient of a number and 8. Okay, the quotient of a number and 8 is kind of an interesting idea because you have to remember what quotient means, and that is definitely a math technical word. Quotient is the answer to a division problem. So since a quotient is the answer to a division problem, you're looking at a fraction. You're looking at a fraction of some type. A number. We can call the number anything. What do you want to call it? N. We'll call it N. So the quotient of a number, N, and 8. That's how we'll write it as a fraction. Quotient of a number and 8 is, how do you say is? You know that one. That's equals all the time. Is the same as, so equal to, is the same as, is equal to 16. Is equal to 16. And I'm just going to write that in. Anyways. Okay, I need to solve for N. Oof, this is too hard. I think we should probably quit. No, just kidding. All right, let's solve. What do you want to do? Well, I have N. I'm trying to solve for N, trying to get that variable by itself. It's being divided by 8, and we're adding 2. We should subtract 2, because that will give us just N over 8 equals 14. Ah, that's less. Now we just have N. And what do you think we do to get N by itself? We need to multiply both sides by 8. It is currently being divided by 8. This is the opposite action. That'll give you N by itself. N is equal to 14 times 8. 14 times 8 is a lot. I don't know how to do it. So I do it off to the side. 2, 3, 8, 11, 112. And that is our answer. All right, now we're going to do another problem. And this one I want a little bit more interaction on. 4 times the sum of 14 and c is x squared. Let's go ahead and put our thinking caps on. Oh my, yes, there we go. We got our thinking caps on. Now, don't giggle. 4 times the sum. All right, let's do 4 times this. This feels funny. 4 times the sum. 4, yep, that's for sure. Times, I'll just put a dot. So that's 4 times the sum of 14 and c. All right, the sum of 14 and c. I wonder what that is. I think I gotta take that all together. The sum of 14 and c. So that means 14 plus c. Yeah. But there's something about this. Is 4 being multiplied by just 14? Or is it being multiplied by c? What do you think? Yeah, it's being multiplied by the whole thing. It's being multiplied by both 14 and c. So this is like a parenthetical thought. That means it has parentheses around it. 4 times the sum of 14 and c. 14 and c is one thing. And then 4 is going to multiply by the whole thing. All right, let's move on in the sentence. What does this mean? We just went over it. It means equals. Is means equals. Good. And x squared. Yeah, exactly. You're just going to write x with the little 2 up there. Yeah, that's right. All right. And that is how you will write a sentence out of the math. And this one is not solvable because we have multiple variables in the problem. All right, let's get into a third problem here. So we're going to go ahead and work with a fraction here of 22 minus w over 3 equals negative 7. Our job is to get w by itself. We're going to have to work through this. This is one of those untying your shoes problems that I always refer to. Our goal is to get w by itself, and it's in the middle of it right now. So if you take a look at what's happening in w, what would you say? You might say, oh, it's got a negative in front of it, so it's a minus w. You say, oh, it's got a 22 in front out there too. So I'd like to point out, is this 22, is this a positive number or a negative number really quick? It's a positive number. It is a positive 22. It's not negative 22. So we might have to undo that at some point. And this is being divided by 3. Well, if it's being divided by 3, how am I going to undo that? So there's lots of steps here. Let's go ahead and address what to do first. Well, what do you think? Yeah, we're going to multiply by 3 first. We're going to multiply by 3 first. When we multiply by 3, this will eliminate the denominator here, and it will simply multiply over here. So 3 times this is cross off, and we're going to be left with 22 minus w is equal to negative 21. Okay. Well, we've got a lot going on here, but I don't really know what to do with this w. Well, the 22 out front really needs to be handled, doesn't it? So again, this is a positive 22. How are we going to get rid of it? The opposite of a positive is a negative. So we're going to subtract it. We're going to subtract 22 from both sides. That gives me negative w equals, and the negative 21 and negative 22, what does that make together? They're both negative. Same signs. Same signs. What is it? Something about same signs?
Same signs, add and keep, different signs subtract. Keep the sign of the higher number, then you'll be exact.
So these have the same sign, so negative 22 and negative 21. We'll make negative, that's a 3, it's a 4, negative 43. Again, they're both negative, so it's going to maintain its negative sign. At this point, I have negative w equals negative 43, and you just go ahead and divide by negative 1 or multiply by negative 1, or you can just do this. Positive w equals positive 43. Ta-da! That's our answer. W equals 43. Welcome back for the next problem. I think this is actually the fourth problem, but we'll move on. We're going to solve for b. 2b, or not to b, over 3 plus 6 is equal to 24. We're just going to solve for b here. That's the goal. Solve for b. Means b will equal something at the end. Right now, if I were to write down a few things that's happening to b, you might say, oh, well, b is being multiplied by 2. It's being divided by, what's being divided by? 3. What else is happening to b over on this side of the equation? Yeah, we're adding 6. We're adding 6. All right. Now it's time to do the opposite action in the reversed order. So, what are we going to do first? Yeah, we're going to subtract 6. We're going to go ahead and subtract 6 from both sides. So minus 6, minus 6. Okay. 24 minus 6 is 18. That goes away. 2b over 3 to stay the same. All right, good so far. 2b over 3 is equal to 18. Did the negative 6. Now I need to do the opposite of the division of 3, which would be to multiply by 3. So we're going to multiply by 3. And when we multiply by 3, we'll put that on both sides of the equation. 3 here, 3 here. What's the point of doing that? Well, it cancels out the denominator, which is just a fantastic thing. It gives you 2b equals, and 18 times 3, 18 times 3, for those of you familiar with the skating world, 180 degrees is half a rotation. You got 3 of those, that's 540. This is 54. If you don't understand what I just said, just accept that it's multiplication. 2b equals 54. Got to solve for b. Last step. What's going to be the opposite of that? Times 3 right there. Sorry, times 2. Yeah, you're gonna divide. You can divide by 2. So that's the last step, and I feel like most of you, if you make it this far, you tend to finish well, which is great. B equals 54 divided by 2, 27. That's it.
So now we're going to do an example where there are variables on both sides of the equal sign. Okay? So it says 6 times the quantity of 3x plus 1 minus 30 equals 3 times the quantity of 2x minus 4. So we have parentheses here. All right? So if you remember order of operations, the first thing you do is parentheses. And when there is a number that is outside of parentheses, what are you supposed to do? You hold your finger in the air like this and you say, distribute, multiply. What did I do? Oh, you're going to do it again. Distribute, multiply. And why do I do this? Because you have to make sure that you multiply what is on the outside by each term on the inside of the parentheses. So the first thing you would do is 6 times 3x, and then you would do 6 times 1. So let's go ahead and do that. What is 6 times 3x? Multiply the coefficients together, and that makes 18, but you're also multiplying by x, so it's 18x, and 6 times 1 is positive 6. All right? You're going to leave that negative 30, just bring it down, and we'll deal with it later. You have parentheses also on the right side, so we're going to distribute, multiply. We're going to multiply out the 3. Okay? 3 times 2x and 3 times a negative 4. What is 3 times 2x? What is it? It's, what? Yeah, it's 6x. And then 3 times negative 4. Don't forget that you're multiplying a positive by a negative. What's positive times negative? It's negative. Negative 12. Okay. So, I said you have variable on both sides of the equation. What you need to do is put the variable on one side, and the way that you do that is by combining like terms. Let's try that again. Okay, you might not have heard this one before. Combine like terms. So you have an x over here and x over here. How do you put them together? Well, usually ask yourself, which one is less? Because you're going to work with that so that you can get a positive answer. So I'm going to go ahead and make a t. I'm going to separate both sides now. Let me ask you what's less, 6x or 18x? What's less? 6x, right? So what's the opposite of positive 6x? It's negative 6x. So if you subtract 6x from both sides, the 6x you're pretty much moving over to the left, so positive 6x and negative 6x goes away. And then subtract 18x minus 6x, which is, what is it? It is 12x, you are right, okay? Bring down, I'm going to go ahead and make these red, positive 6, negative 30. And this is going to equal, what's left over here is a negative 12, all right? So next what we need to do is get x by itself, right? But we are going to need to combine, these are also like terms. A lot of people don't realize that, right? They're both coefficients. So we have to ask ourselves, what is 6 minus 30? Okay, positive 6 and negative 30 are different signs. So you have to subtract 30 minus 6, which is 24. Is it positive or is it negative, though? What do you think? Okay, different sign, subtract. Keep the sign of the higher number, which is 30. And so you're going to get that 12x minus 24 equals negative 12. All right? And then really what you get here is you have to solve for x. So there's really one more step to do. So I'm going to circle 12x. I'm going to make another t and ask, what do you have to do to both sides? Okay, what is the opposite of negative 24? It's positive 24. So you add 24 to both sides. Negative 24 and positive 24 make 0. Bring down 12x. And 12x is going to give you, that's a positive 24 minus 12, which is 12. And the last step is to do what? You have to divide both sides by 12. So you divide this by 12, this side by 12, and this side by 12. 12 divided by 12 is 1. You get that x equals, now what is 12 divided by 12? It's 1. Okay, so here's another equation with variables on both sides. The one difference is here, you're going to distribute a 2, but here, oh no, we have to distribute a fraction. That's horrible. But it's actually really easy. So let's distribute on the left first. We're going to do 2 times 4x, distribute, multiply. 2 times 4x, what's 2 times 4x? It's 8x, very good. And what's 2 times 6? It's 12. Okay. Equals. Now we have to distribute a fraction, okay? So we have to do 2/3 times 12x and also 2/3 times 18. Now, just in case you're not sure how to multiply 2/3 times 12 or 2/3 times 18, pretty much you're working with the numerators. You're doing 2/3 times 12. And if it makes you more comfortable, you could put 12 over 1 and multiply top times top, bottom times bottom. You can also think about it as 2 times 12 divided by 3. I'll say that again. 2 times 12, which is 24, divided by 3, which is 8. But if you didn't get that, let's do it the long way. 24 divided by 3 is 8. See what I just did? I hope so. 8x. All right? Now let's work this out. 2/3 times 18. Okay? So this would be really, it's talking about 2 times 18, which is, what's 2 times 18? What is it? It's 36. It's 36, and then you divide that by 3. Okay? But if you want to just say 2 times 18 is 36 divided by 3. What's 36 divided by 3? That's 12. Exactly. Okay? And the shortcut, of course, to doing this, which a lot of you know, is if you just cross-cancel that 3 and 18, that is 2 times 6, which is 12. Okay? And that's the shortcut. All right, so then we're going to add 12. All right, so now this is very interesting because look what it says. It says that 8x plus 12 is equal to 8x plus 12. Is that a true statement? Does this equal this? Yes. And a lot of people, what they do, they say, okay, well, I want to get the variable on one side, so I'm just going to subtract 8x from both sides. And then this will go away, and when you bring down what's left, it says that 12 equals 12. All right. So when something like this happens, you have to ask yourself, does 12 equal 12? Is that a true statement? Yes or no? Who thinks yes? Who thinks no? Who's asleep? Okay, so 12 does equal 12. And in this situation, our answer is what? All real solutions. And you also abbreviate this as infinite solutions, right? There's an infinite number of solutions that is going to work for x. So now we're going to go over absolute value equations, okay? So what you have to remember about absolute value equations is what is in absolute value, okay? Whatever is in here, it's going to give you a positive answer because this answer is actually the distance. And distance is always what? Distance is always positive. So this is distance. And because absolute value symbols always make something positive, there are two possibilities, right? There are two different equations you're going to have to write. So hold up absolute value symbols and say absolute value equations have two answers. One's positive, one's negative. All right? So you have two possibilities here. One's positive and one's negative. So you're going to go ahead and drop the absolute value symbol and write out the first equation, which is x plus 9 equals 2. That's your first possibility. The second possibility is that x plus 9 equals a negative 2. Okay, so you're going to have a positive answer and a negative answer. The reason why this is negative is because the negative was really outside, okay? X plus 9, when I divided both sides by negative, I got a negative answer. So if you solve this algebraically, you're going to solve both of these equations. You're going to subtract 9 from both sides. You actually do the same thing over here, subtract 9 from both sides. So x could give you 2 minus 9. What's 2 take away 9? It is what? It's negative 7. Okay. Or x is negative 2 and negative 9. These are same signs, add and keep. Keep the negatives and add them together. It's what? Negative 11. Okay, and let's see if this works. So 2 would be the distance. What the center is what's inside absolute value, okay? Right here. We call this the center. To find the center, and if you want to show this graphically, we're going to take what's inside absolute value, which is x plus 9, and make it equal to 0. When you do that, you can subtract 9 from both sides, and x gives you negative 9. So this is going to be the center, and remember, the distance is 2. So I'm going to make a number line. What did you say the center was? The center is negative 9. All right. So we're going to go, pretty much it's plus or minus 2. So 2 more than negative 9 is negative 8, negative 7, okay? If you go a distance of 2, you would get to negative 7. Is negative 7 one of my answers? Hallelujah. Yes, it is. And then if you want to go 2 away, or farther away from 9, you go negative 10, negative 11. Did I do this wrong? No, I did it right. Okay, good. All right, and that is a distance of 2. And you get to negative 11. So this is how you show it graphically, where 9 is the center and plus or minus 2 is at negative 7 and negative 11. All right, in the next problem, it wants us to evaluate this absolute value expression if b equals negative 3 and c equals 2. So all this is substitution. What substitution, you may say? And I'll say substitution. You'll say substitution, putting a number in the place of a letter, okay? So that's all you have to do. So if b is negative 3, you're going to go ahead and put negative 3 in the place of b, and you will put 2 in the place of c. And remember, there's absolute value. On the outside of the absolute value is a 3. So whenever there's absolute value outside of either, or whenever there's a number outside absolute value or parentheses, you're going to have to multiply, okay? So let's work on what's inside first. So you're going to do 3 times b minus 8 times c. What is b? b is negative 3, okay? Great. And what is c? c is, it is 2. And at the end of the expression, you are going to subtract 3. So before we multiply, you can treat absolute value as if they're parentheses because we're going to do this first. What's 3 times negative 3? It is negative 9 minus 8 times 2? 16. All right. So this is an absolute value. Now before you distribute a 3 or multiply this by 3 and then subtract 3, you're going to have to work on what's inside absolute value. So negative 9 and negative 16. What is negative 9 and negative 16? Same signs, add and keep, right? It's negative 25. Okay? You're going to multiply that by 3, subtract 3, but you have to take the absolute value of negative 25, which is positive 25. So you can go ahead and turn this into parentheses now. 3 times 25 minus 3. Good. So 3 times 25, if you don't want to do the multiplication, I'll ask you how much is 3/4? That's about as much as I have left in my bank account because it's the end of the month. Okay, it is 75 cents. That's right. So 75 minus 3 is 72. And that is the answer. Go ahead and get that down. The last problem is where we are going to solve in terms of a variable. What I mean by that is we are going to get one variable by itself, but there's more than one variable in the problem. So it makes it very tricky, right? Here we're going to solve for f. And this says that df, or d times f, plus 10, when you divide it by 6, it gives you g. Okay, are you already confused? Don't be confused. All right. So what's the first thing you have to do? You have to realize that whatever this expression is right here, the df plus 10 is being divided by 6, okay? So you're going to undo division by 6. What is the opposite of dividing by 6? It is multiplying by 6. So you multiply both sides by 6. And when you do that, this you can cross cancel. 6 divided by 6, that's the whole point, right? If you want to get rid of the denominator, you just multiply both sides by the denominator. You're left with what is on top, which is the numerator, which is df plus 10 equals, now g times 6, you can't leave it that way because the coefficient needs to come first. When a coefficient and a variable are being multiplied, you're going to write it as 6g, all right? And then we're trying to get f by itself. So I'm just going to go ahead and circle this because I just want you to remember what we are trying to isolate. So if I do that, what is next to df that I need to get rid of? I need to get rid of the 10. What's the opposite of positive 10? It's negative 10. I'm going to write it over here like this. Okay. So a positive 10 and a negative 10 make 0. You're going to bring down df. When you do that, over here, you cannot combine these because this does not have a g. So I'm going to write it as 6g minus 10. You with me? All right, good, because we're almost done. What is the very last thing that you have to do to get f by itself? Remember, d and f are being multiplied, right? It's like they're married. You want to get f by itself, then she wants to divorce Mr. D. So we're going to divide both sides by, what do you think? D. That is correct. When you divide both sides by d, you get that f equals 6g minus 10 divided by d. All right, so go ahead and get that down.